Yeah. Okay. Question from one of the people in the book, Urate
Yeah.
Kazikis. Elizabeth, wonderful conversation. Please talk more about your own experience with discrimination and sexism that you experienced while covering the war in Cambodia.
Hi, Urati. And thank you for being part of the audience. Um, it was a surprise because, I came straight from graduate school where, we had our own form of whatever, but I thought I was in the grown-up world and all of that would disappear. So, of course, people were the men were far too interested in me as a woman who romantic, blah, blah. And I found I had to watch who I even went out to cover a war with, because you never knew who's going to put the makes on you. And I would lock my room at night because I lived in the hotel. And then there was a very public out stuff, like at the end of a briefing, one of the political officers asked me, who was my father? I said, what? What does your father do? I said, my dad sells real estate in West Seattle. And he said, he's not part of the embassy. And I said, no. And he says, what are you doing here? You can't be here. You're not a journalist. That's the picky little day. Once I got those strings working for the Post and Newsweek, a target sort of was on my back because, yes, there were more than a few men who thought they should have gotten those strings. So there was a anonymous Reuters stationery satire about me and a couple other women who were visiting, and how I, in particular, the only reason I got those jobs because I used my feminine wiles. And the last was when a new ambassador arrived, and we're at his first press conference. He asked one of my colleagues to repeat the question because he was distracted by my legs. So it's annoying to disturbing, and you never knew if you're being treated that way if you're a woman or because you did do something wrong, and that's the problem, I think.
Mm-hmm. So you stayed with the story of Cambodia for forever, really. I mean,
Yep.
up to today. Talk about that. I mean, was it hard to when you leave the war? Is it hard to leave it behind? What kept you going back and writing a book and then updating that book and now doing this book?
Oh, it was impossible. I had no idea how it had gotten inside of me. And that's why I was so relieved doing this research to see the same with the three women. They could not leave. It just goes inside of you. So my misfortune was that, you fall in love with Cambodia and it goes from war to genocide. And I couldn't let it go. And I had to write that book. And I had to find the people. I had to make the testimony. It's, good or bad, we all fall in love with the country. And I've come to think it's a blessing and not a curse. And the end of the book, I said that Frankie was in Hanoi. Well, she went out of her way to make sure she was following up on the story. Kate made sure that she followed up, and she talked Hong Kong into sending her to the USS Blue Ridge. So she was on the ship as the Americans were evacuated to the ship. And Katrine, just dropped everything and flew to Saigon so she would be there and to show what had happened take photo at the end. So that the depth of feeling and what that war means and what it says about history and humanity, it's irresistible.
Somebody had a good question about Laos. Did any of these women spend time in Laos? Was there any acknowledgement or discussion of the secret bombing campaign in their personal documents or in your experience while you were there?
There was one woman much earlier, but she did not stay. It was very hard. Very few live posted there. So no, the short answer is no. And she's right to bring it up because it was totally undercovered.
Mm. I think this is from Chad, who says there's a second set of 4 photos. Just wanted to know if you were planning to show those.
Well, I read from Frankie and Kate, and so I just want to quickly show some of Katrine's photographs. If you could just have them go by, please, Chad. Fleeing battle. Next, please. A soldier between boredom and terror. Next, please. One of her most famous. This is a medic. No one could believe that Katrine got this close in the middle of one of the worst battles. And she took a series of photos for in Wilkie of this man who was trying to save the soldier. He dies. The medic cries out, takes the weapon, and then goes into a foxhole and there to kill the Vietnamese. And Katrine is with him this close. And that's what she means. You had to catch the eyes. And then the last one, she's there when the North Vietnamese go in. Thank you. Thank you, Chad.
Yeah, so the medic photo there, you describe in the book that, sort of her hallmark was intimate portraits during battle. And that guy he was 20 years old and from Phoenix, Arizona when he was there. And tell us about years later, she goes and does another photo assignment of him.
Oh, it's tragic. And it was her last photo assignment. They track him down. He has several daughters who he doesn't talk to. His body is covered in tattoos of all of the people he knew who were killed in Vietnam. He's this side of homeless, and he's a mess. But Katrine, he agrees to allow her to come and take a photo essay of him for the anniversary of the war's ending. And see, it would have been about, I'm very bad at math. 2005, yeah, 2005. And he dies, it is in Perry Match, big spread. She dies a few weeks later. But he never recovered from the war. And that's the sad part of this whole thing, is that you have to tell the whole story. You have to follow it through. And she did.
Yeah. There's a message here that I want to read to you from, Lily Sisambot. Okay. I think what Lily is trying to write here is we also fell in love with you, Elizabeth, a sincere friend of Cambodians.
Thank you, Lily.
Yeah. Okay. And then this may end up, we're almost at 7 o'clock. This may end up being the last. Susan Walker. Hello and thank you, Elizabeth Becker, for your book, An Incredible Career. Wonderful to see and hear about incredible journalists for whom I have the greatest respect, like you, Silvana, and others who became friends, Gloria E. and Mary Kay. You all covered the humanity of the story. My question to you, what was one of the most difficult stories you covered or edited? Actually, there are 2 questions. And what are some of the lessons learned or advice you could give?
Well, the toughest was to go back to Cambodia under the Khmer Rouge, hands down. It was very hard to prepare for, and who would have known that they would try to kill me and the other journalists. As an editor, what I learned was to listen to my reporters. When you're a foreign editor, you're pressured from the top to come up with whatever was in the New York Times yesterday or the Washington Post today or whatever. And I learned that the more I listened to my reporters of what they were doing, the smarter not only the smarter the work, but I had a very good answer for my people afterwards. But the more an editor listens to the reporter, the more that the reporter can educate the editor and vice versa. Advice, my gosh, not my forte.
Put it in your next book.
Oh, no, thank you.
Okay, final message here from Patty Dan, who's also a book author. Thank you for a terrific evening. Just ordered the book, so that's a nice cue to remind everybody the book is published on February 23rd, and the link for ordering it, it just turned up in chat again. It is elizabethbecker.com.
Or
Okay.
your favorite independent bookstore, et cetera, et cetera.
Great. Okay. Elizabeth, thank you so much. This has been great. And thank you, Patty and Chad and Overseas Press Club and
Thank
everybody
you.
else who participated. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.